Remember last week when we talked about stocks using McDonald's French fries? How one fry equals one tiny piece of one company? Well, here's the thing. Buying individual stocks is like going to the grocery store and filling your entire cart with just apples. Nothing but apples. Sounds risky, right? What if those apples go bad? Today, I'm going to show you the grocery basket trick that millionaires use and why it's actually easier than picking individual stocks. And here's the kicker. This one simple trick is responsible for more everyday millionaires than any other investment strategy. Seriously. So imagine this. You walk into a grocery store with your entire month's food budget, and you spend it all on apples. Just apples. Now, what happens if there's an apple shortage, or a bad harvest, or suddenly everyone decides they hate apples? You're in trouble, right? This is exactly what happens when you put all your money into one stock, one company. Remember Blockbuster? People who had all their money in Blockbuster stock? Yeah, that money's gone. Poof. Or Kodak? Used to be huge. Now, not so much.
Or Enron. People lost their entire retirement savings. Teachers, nurses, regular folks who thought they were being smart by investing. I actually know someone, my neighbor Tom, who had most of his 401k in his company stock. Seems safe, right? It was the company he worked for. He knew the business. The company went under. Tom lost 80% of his retirement at age 58. Here's what keeps me up at night when I think about new investors. You work so hard for your money. You save up, you finally decide to invest, and then you pick the wrong company. But how can you know which company is the right one? Even the experts get it wrong all the time. That shouldn't happen to you, and it doesn't have to. Now, what if instead of buying just apples, you bought a pre-made grocery basket? This basket has apples, sure, but also bananas, oranges, bread, milk, eggs, a little bit of everything. This is an index fund. An index fund is just a basket of stocks. Instead of one company, you own tiny pieces of hundreds of companies, all in one purchase. So if the apples go bad, you've still got everything else.
The bananas are doing great, the bread's fresh. Let me show you how this works with real companies. Say you love Netflix. You could buy just Netflix stock, but what if a competitor crushes them? Or you could buy an index fund that includes Netflix and Disney and Amazon Prime and hundreds of other companies. If Netflix struggles, maybe Disney Plus is killing it. Amazon's growing. They balance each other out. In investing terms, we call this diversification. But honestly, just think of it as not putting all your eggs in one basket. Or, in this case, not putting all your money in one apple. And here's the really beautiful part. Because you're not paying some Wall Street genius to hand-pick every single stock, these baskets, these index funds, have incredibly low fees. Costs have been dropping for years, which means more of your money stays in your pocket, growing for you. It's like having a safety net made of hundreds of other companies. Think about it. What are the odds that all 500 of the biggest companies in America fail at the same time? Pretty much zero. That would mean the entire American economy collapsed. And if that happens, we've got bigger problems than our investments, right? So that's the trick. The grocery basket. It's not about finding a needle in a haystack. It's about buying the whole haystack. It's the strategy that has quietly and consistently built wealth for millions of regular people. You don't have to be an expert. You don't have to watch the market every day. You just have to avoid putting all your apples in one cart.
Okay, let's get real. The most popular index fund basket, it's called the S&P 500. Don't let the name scare you. S&P is just the company that makes the list, Standard & Poor's. And 500, that's how many companies are in the basket. When you buy one share of an S&P 500 index fund, you instantly own tiny pieces of Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, Tesla, plus 495 other massive American companies, all the big players. With one click, one purchase, boom, you own a piece of all of them. Now, it's not equal amounts. The bigger the company, the bigger your slice. Apple might be 7% of your basket, while a smaller one is just a tiny fraction. But you own them all. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Let me tell you a story.
If you had put $1,000 in the S&P 500 30 years ago and just left it there, did nothing, that $1,000 would be worth over $17,000 today. Without picking a single stock, without timing anything, just buying the basket and waiting. Over the last 30 years, this basket has grown an average of about 10% per year. Now, look, some years it goes down. 2008, down 37%. Scary. 2022, down 18%. But then, 2009, up 26%. 2013, up 32%. The long-term trend? Up. It always has been. You know what's crazy? 90% of professional investors, people who do this for a living, who stare at screens all day, they can't beat the S&P 500. Think about that. These people have teams of analysts, and they try to pick the best apples from the tree. Meanwhile, the simple grocery basket beats them almost every time. If the pros can't beat it, why should we try? Here's why this works so well for beginners, and honestly, why I use it myself. You don't need to research companies. The basket's already made. You don't need to time the market. You just buy regularly and hold on. You're betting on American business as a whole, not just one company. It's automatic diversification, lower stress, lower risk, and historically solid returns. But I know what you're thinking. This sounds too good to be true. What's the catch? Fair question. Here's the truth. Index funds won't make you rich overnight.
This is the tortoise, not the hare. You won't have that crazy story about picking the next Amazon, but you also won't have the horror story about losing everything on the next Enron. You know who agrees? Warren Buffett, one of the richest investors ever. He made a $1 million bet that a simple S&P 500 index fund would beat a collection of fancy hedge funds over 10 years. He won, by a lot. He even told his own wife to put her money in index funds when he's gone. He said, and I quote, "Put 90% in a low-cost S&P 500 index fund. If it's good enough for Warren Buffett's family, it's probably good enough for us." All right, so how do you actually buy these magical grocery baskets? Any brokerage app. Fidelity, Vanguard, Schwab, even Robinhood, they all have them. Here's exactly what you do. Step 1, open an account. It takes about 10 minutes. Step 2, transfer money from your bank. Even $50 works to start. Step 3, search for these ticker symbols, SPY, VOO, or IVV. They all track the S&P 500. Same basket, different brands. A quick tip, look at the expense ratio. A fund like VOO charges 0.03%. That's just $3 a year for every $10,000 you invest. It's incredibly cheap, and you don't need thousands to start. Most brokers let you buy fractional shares now. Can't afford a full share? Buy $25 worth. It still counts. My favorite strategy? Set it and forget it. Set up an automatic investment every month, like a gym membership, but this one actually makes you money. Seriously, the less you look, the better you'll probably do. So let's recap. Index funds are pre-made baskets of stocks. Instead of betting on one company, you're betting on hundreds. It's diversification made simple. It's the smart, stress-free way to start. And look, I know some of you are still scared. That's normal. I was too. But you don't have to invest your life savings tomorrow. Start with $50. See how it feels. The biggest risk isn't losing money in the market. It's never starting at all. Because while you're waiting for the perfect time, inflation is eating away at your savings. Next week, we'll talk about something called dollar cost averaging, and I'll answer the big question. What if the market crashes right after I invest? If this helped, hit that subscribe button and share this with someone who needs to hear it. And remember, you don't need to be perfect at investing. You just need to start. Your future self will thank you.